Ladies and gentlemen,
welcome back to For the Trophies.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, welcome back for the Troll Fantasy. We're having a good time. We got a great episode for you. My name is Noah Sell. I'm blowing the whole intro right now. That was fantastic. Welcome back to For the Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And we're going. Yeah, we're leaving this in. This is it.
Yeah.
We're staying here. This is good. We're in now. You guys are on the ride with us. My goodness. We have got a good episode for you guys today. A great episode. We're going to do a little bit of a Thursday night football recap. We're coming at you a day later today. I personally was at a concert with my wife. Had a blast. So we're unable to record on Thursday night after the Bears-Commanders game like we usually would. So we are now coming at you Friday night recording, which is a little bit of a benefit, getting some late week practice reports, getting to have a little more intel, which is pretty cool. Glad we're able to do that for you guys this week. Happy weekend. We're glad you guys are here. Wes, how's it going?
Things are good. I am feeling pretty good about trading Joe Burrow for Justin Fields. Should have started him, but I feel good. I at least have him. I've been in our personal league here. I rolled out Matt Stafford in the wide receiver room we're going to see on Sunday. I'm feeling pretty excited. But other than that, feeling good, having a good week. Just been hanging out, feeling the weather go from really hot to really cold at night and starting to get in there in that nice weather. But things are good. How are you? How's the concert?
It was great. It was a very good time. I'm good, and we had an awesome time. We went to go see the 1975, my favorite band of all time.
Show off your tat.
It was a blast.
There
it's
it is.
Never convenient to see, but I do have a tattoo based off one of their songs. Love them so much. It was a great time. Always fun. Except for that it was like all the way, like an hour across town. If you know Arizona, we're all the way in the East Valley. And the show was all the way in the West Valley, so it was fun on a work day to just make that trek across Phoenix. But we had a blast. We had a good time, and
good.
You know, I enjoyed my time, and I wouldn't have changed anything about it. But watching some of those highlights from Thursday Night Football, a piece of me was like, man, I almost wish I was watching this Thursday Night Football game. That was pretty crazy, and definitely going to be able to talk about that in a little bit. But we got to go through some formalities first. Like I said, we're going to do Thursday Night Football recap. We're going to do studs and duds. And we got something a little special for you on this episode. We are going to be giving you our top trade targets. We are a quarter of the way through the season right now. Maybe you're 0-4. Maybe you're 4-0 and you have somebody that you want to maybe go ahead and grab that you can just keep bolstering your team like that. Whatever it may be, we're going to give you a couple guys that we think you should be trading for. It's going to be a good time. Before we jump into all of that and the news, make sure you're following us on all our social media below. Make sure you're subscribing, ringing the bell. Leave us a comment. Let us know, hey, if you had the Justin Fields, DJ Moore stack on Thursday night. I know a couple people that did, and it was absurd that you could just...
Oh, my gosh.
You know, sometimes you have the really poor performance on Thursday nights, and you're like, gosh, I already lost my week. Like, there's no way. Oh, my God. Like, Nick Chubb just absolutely bombed. Like, there's no way I can come back from this. Well, there are people that legitimately won their week on Thursday night, and that is pretty insane to say. So it was a great game. We're going to talk about it in just a little bit. But first, let's jump into the news. There's some things we got to talk about, some things to know, some new players on new teams. We got to learn and hear about it. Wes, what's up? What's going on?
Yeah, speaking of the Bears and very famous players, someone from the Bears was traded to the Miami Dolphins, a wide receiver. His name is Chase Claypool. Anyway, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, we were hearing some reports. We didn't really get to report it in time before Thursday since we dropped our Tuesday morning episode. But, I mean, he was not even part of the team. He was asked to sit out, didn't travel, and then I don't remember exactly who it is from the Dolphins front office. Maybe it was McDaniel. I know you sent the quote to me, but they were saying, like, we weren't even really that interested, but, he's a veteran. And
that was McDaniel's presser today. He's saying, on Friday, but he's saying, we're very happy with our wide receiver core. We weren't necessarily looking to add to the room,
obviously
but
happy.
It was an opportunity for a guy who wants to, make an impact. And listen, they pick swapped 6th and 7th round picks in 2025. So once upon a time, Chase Claypool was a double-digit touchdown scorer in his rookie season. Hey, when you're behind Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and probably Braxton Berrios on the depth chart, I mean, you're a wide receiver 4, but for a very high-powered offense, maybe I don't know. What I heard is that they had a very clear conversation, Mike McDaniel and Miami Dolphins GM Chris Greer did, with Chase Claypool before making the move about what the expectations were. And apparently Chase Claypool is eager to turn a new page. So who knows? We'll see what happens. I mean, maybe if they're up 70-20 again, he'll get a Mike White touchdown or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, Robbie Chosen had a touchdown, and you never know what happens. We're not going to say Chase Claypool is fantasy relevant anyway, but I mean, as soon as Thursday night ended, they were like, all right, Chase, we obviously don't need you. So Wednesday morning, a bit of defensive news here. The Chargers actually traded away J.C. Jackson to the New England Patriots because the New England Patriots found out that their superstar rookie defensive back, Christian Gonzalez, suffered a torn labrum and will miss the rest of his very first season in the NFL. He was a contender for Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's big news for them next year, but just keep that in mind for anyone that is playing against the Patriots defense for any kind of skill players you have there. The aforementioned Kenny Pickett used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Kenny Pickett is the quarterback once again for Week 5, even though he suffered a bone bruise, which was initially feared to be an ACL tear. So whatever has happened since he hobbled off the field in Week 4, he's starting. Oh, we are a fan of Penny Kickett Private Eye. I hope everything's all right. Bone bruise.
Torn ACL. Down 24 to the Texans. Whatever. Yeah, I'm messing around. I'm not saying he didn't get hurt. He was limping very badly, but it was
no, it was bad.
Whatever. Maybe it was
just keep that in mind. Mitch Trubisky's the backup. Just see what happens in case anything goes south for Kenny Pickett there. Speaking of quarterbacks, Jimmy Garoppolo, he has cleared the concussion protocol and is good to go for Monday night against the Green Bay Packers. Mike Evans left Week 4's game against the Saints early with a hamstring injury. Oh, did you hear about this, pal? You're looking so surprised.
Yeah, no, sorry. Just are the Packers?
This is news to you.
I feel like no. I knew about Jimmy Garoppolo.
Dude, they went from Thursday night to Monday night.
I feel like we've been watching the same 4 teams on primetime all year so far.
It is.
I feel like we've watched the Packers and the Lions and the Steelers and the Raiders
the
on
Giants.
primetime, and the Giants. Thank
Such a
God
tangent.
we get a week off from primetime with the Giants, but I'm not even next week, Week 6, they are back in primetime. It's ridiculous. I don't know why they threw that team in there, but.
Someone pulled up a stat that said that the Jaguars haven't been on primetime since 2000. I mean, they are so biased in their markets. A New York team. Anyway, hey, Mike Evans left for Week 4's game against the Saints early with a hamstring injury and is considered mild, but the team said that he likely would have missed this week if they weren't on a bye week. So it's still something to consider, even though he has this week off. Obviously, Chris Godwin is on the team, and Baker Mayfield still had success without Mike Evans, so just keep that in mind. Amon-Ra St. Brown, my man, wide receiver 4 on the season, in my opinion. He is playing well, but he is doubtful for Sunday's matchup with an abdominal injury he sustained from Week 4. He's been very limited in practice. In fact, didn't even practice yesterday. He's still trying his best to play Sunday, but keep in mind, Jameson Williams is back in action for the Lions. For those that might want to roll him out for a flex option, something to consider. Per usual, like to keep a word of advice for any players that may or may not play. Put them in your flex options so you can swap them out easily in case something happens later on. Chargers tight end Donald Parham suffered a sprained wrist. He's likely questionable even for week 6 after their bye. We have to report that because he was so heavily picked up when Mike Williams went down, even though there's like 4 other players. So there's more reason not to start Donald Parham. T. Higgins did not practice Wednesday with his rib injury, but he did practice Friday, and he's still considered day-to-day, but it sure feels like he is maybe...
Just take a week off. Sincerely, a Tyler Boyd owner who had no use for him, but has just been sitting on his bench.
Yeah.
Just take a week off, T. It's all good.
All Jamar Chase owners, all people who wanted to prove that Nico Collins is not as good as Jamar Chase from our take. They really want to see that happen.
We truly had the worst sports take of all time.
My gosh.
Are really hoping T. Higgins is out. Yeah, there you go.
Popped off on TikTok, by the way. That is like 50,000 views.
If you guys didn't see that, head over to TikTok, 50K, something like that, and there's just 300 comments of people just calling us idiots. And it's just
fantastic. So thank you for the engagement.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Let's talk about the 2 biggest names for this week 5. Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp are going to be off the PUP list. Here's what we know right now before we dissect what this looks like for both of their offenses. Jonathan Taylor, he is reportedly healthy from his ankle injury. He is still, as of right now, not even activated on their roster, however, and he's listed officially as questionable. He did have a press conference and talked about his involvement with a team and said there was a point when you said you wanted to be traded. How committed are you to this Colts offense right now? And his reply was, I'm here. I wouldn't be 100% if I wasn't here. So let's dissect that in a second after we discuss what Cooper Kupp's engagement looks like. He returned to practice as well. The Rams are focusing specifically on how he does with the deep routes, as he and Matthew Stafford had a lot of connection last year before he got injured, and especially in their Super Bowl run. They want to test his max speed. The injury reporting from the Rams isn't as serious as they initially thought. They thought it may be a long-term injury, something he may have to fight through this season, might affect his career. Right now, it doesn't seem to be the case. Cooper Kupp himself said that he is good to go, and he is, in fact, playing Sunday. Big news. 2 massive players that are affected by both their players' returns. Noah, start out here with Jonathan Taylor, what the Colts offense looked like, and especially how this affects Anthony Richardson, who is dominating in the ground game.
Yeah, so I don't think Anthony Richardson really loses much of a step. I think there were some designed runs for him in this offensive playbook. I think they're still going to call those plays. And I still think that Jonathan Taylor, while I may have made bold claims in the preseason on where I stand on him, I think he is still going to be a decent or more than decent play, I will say. I think at this point now, my concern for him going elsewhere is pretty low. It does sound like he is committed to Indianapolis for the season. I think there's a strong chance that Shane Steichen stepped in there and played a little bit of damage control between Jonathan Taylor and Jim Irsay, and maybe looked to Irsay and went, hey, can I have my top 5 running back, please? Can you not piss him off? Is that cool? Can we try this out here? And so
if we die. Football goes on.
What does that even mean?
He's a lunatic. Love Jim Irsay.
He's like the old prospectors. Get back in your box, Jim Irsay. It's all good. Just go back in the box. You're fine. You're good. Just buckle up your overalls and just...
Oh, my gosh.
Jonathan Taylor's going to play for your team, all right? You're good. You're fine.
Can't get that image out of my mind.
I know. There you go. Jonathan Taylor, though, I do think is going to be a impactful player in fantasy football. I have my concerns preseason on how many kind of opportunities would be taken away from Anthony Richardson and the rushing game. I think Shane Steichen is going to use Jonathan Taylor to Anthony Richardson's benefit. I think this is just an upgrade for the Colts offense and maybe in general. There weren't really many pass catchers that I was looking at in the Colts offense. Maybe Michael Pittman Jr., but I still think he is going to get his. I think Josh Downs might see a little bit of a downtick, which he had already seen once Anthony Richardson returned. So that's neither here nor there. But Jonathan Taylor's return is exciting for fantasy football. It's fantasy football and football in general is more fun when Jonathan Taylor is in it. So as far as Zach Moss goes, I wouldn't drop him. I think he's probably still, we've seen he's a good insurance option if Jonathan Taylor were to get traded, if there would be some sort of injury to happen. Zach Moss will be the guy. And even especially this week, if you're in a tight spot, I think Zach Moss, you could still play. I don't know what the snap share will look like with Jonathan Taylor this week. So as for the Colts, I think the whole offense gets an uptick, and that's kind of where I'm at with that whole situation.
I believe it was on the Pat McAfee show that Shane Steichen went on and actually addressed Anthony Richardson's use in the ground game. And as many of you may know, Pat McAfee played for the Colts, so he's just hyped about Anthony Richardson, how he's been playing. Steichen addressed the concussion concerns for Anthony Richardson and just the injury risk of having a mobile quarterback like Richardson. And Steichen's reply was, well, obviously we want to protect him, but when he's that good, I mean, you got to roll him out. Like, we have to keep designing plays for a player that is that good with the football in his hand and is doing what he is on the ground. So my concern for Anthony Richardson's ground game does not change. In fact, I think it adds just as much of a threat for Richardson as it is, because as you were talking, I was trying to recall some of the most recent dual threat running backs. And I mean, dual threat quarterbacks. And I can't think of a running back that had a great running back. Like, I can't think of a quarterback that had a dominant running back with them. Usually they were the running back too. Like, Lamar Jackson's never really had a consistent running back. Like, J.K. Dobbins is good, right, but he's been too injured. He hasn't been able to sustain anything. Cam Newton never really had a strong running back. Jalen Hurts has had like 17 running backs in the 2 years he started. So this will be fascinating. This will be very exciting to see what it looks like when you have a very strong rushing quarterback and a top 5 running back. I think the offense as a whole succeeds. And I think it'll be a no-brainer when Jonathan Taylor plays his first week. They're playing the Titans, I believe. And I know the Titans' rush defense has been pretty good, but how are you going to stop two of them?
Yeah.
I think it paid off for those that did still take Jonathan Taylor. The concerns were worrying in the offseason. I think what might have persuaded Jonathan Taylor to be like, all right, I'll stay with the Colts is look how good that offense is. Yeah. That offense looks pretty solid. I mean, they don't have an amazing record, but they're hanging in there for the AFC South for a playoff run. They can win the division still. The Jaguars are not as off to a hot start as we all thought it was going to be. The Texans are the ones that I think are probably going to win the division.
Third of the division for me right now at this point. But looking at offensive firepower, like just how good they're looking. So
they're a mess. So it feels like this worked out. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be just fine. I think Richardson's going to be just fine. I'll be curious to see how the passing game evolves, though, because when you have a legitimate threat, not that Zach Moss wasn't, but when you have a legitimate threat in the backfield, maybe we start seeing Michael Pittman pop off more often. Maybe we get a little more involvement from Josh Downs or the rookie connection with Anthony Richardson. Yeah. I'm excited to see what that looks like here. I agree with you on Zach Moss. Let's jump over to Los Angeles here, because not only is this important for Matthew Stafford and the Rams offense as a whole, but hey, over the first 4 weeks, a Rams wide receiver is number 2 in fantasy points. Puka Nacua is going to descend in the depth chart behind Cooper Kupp. I want to hear your first blush reaction to what this looks like with Puka and Cooper and even Kyren Williams and how this all plays together, not just this week, but for the season, what we can anticipate.
I'll start with Kyren. I think Kyren is going to benefit from Cooper Kupp being back. I think the defenses are going to be a little more spread out. They're not going to be able to stack the box as much. And I think Kyren Williams is talented, and he is even if he's not talented, he is getting opportunity like no other. He is on the field so much. I think he'll continue to be on the field. I think he's going to be a fantastic running back for the rest of the season. I think he's borderline, if not going to finish inside the top 15 running backs this year. I mean, some guys will turn some stuff around. Right now, I believe he's the running back 3, I believe, if I'm correct. So I think Kyron is going to benefit here. I'll go on to Puka Nacua. I'm not worried. I'm really not. I know Puka's not going to be getting 20 targets a game, but I'm not worried here about the fantasy football production of Puka Nacua with the return of Cooper Kupp. Puka Nacua is playing 70% of his snaps on the outside. That doesn't overlap with Cooper Kupp at all. Cooper Kupp plays in the slot. Like that's not his. It's not his spot outside. They're not going to overlap. They're going to be on the field at the same time, and they're both going to be able to find themselves getting open. And unlike seasons past, Stafford has a tremendous amount of trust in 2 guys on the field. And that's with Matthew Stafford, trust is a huge thing. We heard the reports this preseason of, Stafford doesn't really even know the names of guys. Like, it's just like it's tough. And so it's for him being the kind of quarterback he is, when he has a guy, he has a guy. And Puka Nacua started joining those breakfast meetings and getting plugged in, and he is attached to Cooper Kupp's hip during practice. He is learning, and I think Puka Nacua has the full trust of Matthew Stafford. So I'm not worried there either. Cooper Kupp, I think he's going to return right back to form. My concern here is that the hamstring gets tweaked again. If it does, obviously that's not good, and you're not going to have Cooper Kupp in your lineup. If they think he's fully healthy and he's ready to roll back out there and be who he's been in the past, he's going to come out and he's going to be the top scoring fantasy football wide receiver in the league. Like that's it. That is how this is going to turn out. He is going to be the best guy at the wide receiver spot on the field every single Sunday when he's on the field and healthy with Matthew Stafford. That is point blank where we're at. I think we're about to see maybe a little bit of the vintage looks of 2 or 3 years ago with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. A little bit of Bobby Tree's resemblance here with Puka Nacua and how they're going to work together on the field. I think they're both going to be very solid, and I think this Rams offense, again, like the Indianapolis Colts, is just going to be benefiting tremendously from getting a guy back, not just because they have that guy back, but because it's going to free up opportunities and space for everyone else that can make impact plays on the field. So I think there's going to about to be a lot of more fun happening in LA and more passing touchdowns from Matthew Stafford. Let's get some more of those. He's like second in passing yards, and he has like 2 passing touchdowns. That's it. Yeah.
You know what this screams to me? Matthew Stafford's going to finish top 10 as a quarterback.
Oh, yeah. Let's get the touchdowns.
Matthew Stafford
coming back up.
Needs to be 100% rostered. You can have Cooper Kupp and you have Puka Nacua, the way he's playing for this season, plus Kyron Williams, who is getting loads of targets as well. Matthew Stafford is going...
I'm going to throw some respect on Tutu Atwell, too, real quick.
Tutu
Atwell has found his space in the offense as well. Tyler Higbee, once upon a time, a couple years ago, was getting incredible targets and finding his place in the offense as well. Like, this offense is about to be something really special, I think.
Stafford is going to end up being somebody's QB1 because of what Kupp and Puka and Tutu and Higbee and Kyron all do together. Hey, Sean McVay, may not have been a bad idea to turn down that TV deal and stick around for another season. Your team looks pretty good, my friend.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out in just one day from this episode what happens with the Colts and the Rams. Looking forward to it. That's it for the news. Let's circle back to Thursday night with what we thought was going to be another cursed Amazon Prime game, so much so that you and I were like, Amazon just ruins everything. Let's just poke fun at how bad this show is.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be the most exciting Thursday night game we have ever seen in our lives. Bears versus Commanders.
Yeah, Bears, Manders in Landover, Maryland, and Washington. There you go. 40-20, the Bears come out on top, get their first win in 360-something days, I'm pretty sure. It was something really crazy like that. Been a long time. And, our concern was that the Bears looked good for like 2.5 quarters against Denver last week. And then they gave up like 31 points unanswered or 28 points unanswered, something like that, something ridiculous like that, and they end up losing in a tremendous comeback by Denver. Yeah, I think the Bears might have figured something out. I don't know for sure. The Washington Commanders are not the gold standard of defenses, but they just took the Philadelphia Eagles to overtime. So, like, they're doing something right on the defensive side of things, and they didn't do much right at all on the defensive side of things on Thursday night. We saw an absolute show. We already mentioned it before, but Justin Fields, 40.9 fantasy points, 15 for 29, 282 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Listen, completion percentage can go up. That's fine, but 282 and 4 with 0 interceptions, and then 11 rushes for 57 yards. That's what we've been missing is the rushing attempts. 11 rushes, designed runs. The Bears and Matt Eberflus might have figured out how to unlock Justin Fields again, and it looks pretty good so far. His last 2 weeks have been tremendous. And then the big name of the night, DJ Moore. Oh my goodness. He had 10 targets, brought in 8 of those for 230 yards and 3 touchdowns. No one told me DJ Moore had the Tyreek Hill games in him. What you're talking about? This is the DJ Moore who had no more than like 5 touchdowns in like his first 3 or 4 seasons of his career. Like what? And then he gets 3 in one game. Obviously, the last one was a little bit of a, I won't say like a throwaway or a gimme, but it was in garbage time, and Washington was trying pretty hard to jump the route, get the ball back, and he just took it and went. But his yards after catch, dude, like it was like he was just burning guys after he got that ball in his hand. And I don't know, he might have just been pissed off and wanted to win a game or something, but he was just hauling tail.
Ooga chaka.
Almost 100.
Ooga chaka.
Hooked on a feeling. DJ Moore. I mean, almost 100 points combined from these guys. That's what we said. If you had this stack, like some people that we saw did, you won your week on Thursday night. You could like sit like almost half of the rest of your team right now, and you'd probably still win. Like that's where we're at this point. It's pretty freaking crazy. Hey, and then Cole Kmet gets into the end zone again. 5 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. 15.2 fantasy points there for him. He's looking like maybe a decent tight end option if you're disappointed in Darren Waller or Dallas Goedert. Cole Kmet, if he's out there on the waivers, he could be a decent ad for you, so he's there as well. And then Khalil Herbert, the last guy who had a big impact in Week 4. Not so big in Week 5, but he also was injured. He didn't finish out the game, but he had 10 carries for 76 yards. He had a big breakaway there in the first quarter, picked up like 40 or 50 yards on that one play. But 7.6 per carry. The offense just seems to be humming. They just seem to be doing well,
yeah.
And I don't see how, at least with Justin Fields, DJ Moore, and Cole Kmet, how you can go into Week 6 and not have them in your lineup. Like, even if this was just 6 good quarters of football over the last 2 weeks, I don't think you can risk, like, no, they're not going to do it again. I don't know what the schedule is. I haven't seen who they get in Week 6, but you got to roll these guys out at this point now. And Wes, I mean, we talked about it a little bit today, just texting, but this is the reports we were seeing. This is the reports we were seeing, and they're coming true. And this offense looks pretty good, dude. I don't know, like, what do you think? Where are you at on the Bears offense now?
Well, I bought into the hype. So This is a relief to see that they can actually do this. But I'll tell you what I learned from Thursday night. The first month of fantasy football is really trying to figure out who do I need to get out on while I still can? Like who can I trade away because the production is not that good and they're lucky? And how do I take advantage of the good fantasy points but get someone that's sustainable? And the other side is trying to see who's not getting the fantasy points, but when it hits, and I got to take advantage of this. What I learned Thursday night is sometimes you just have to wait. Sometimes you just have to wait it out and trust your gut. You're only 3-4 weeks in, and eventually the players you believe in are going to hit. Kudos to one of the guys that I'm in a league with. I sent an offer to DJ Moore for 3 straight weeks, and he declined every single time because he said, no, I just have to wait this out. I think it's going to happen. And it did in week 4. And man, not only has DJ Moore have the greatest wide receiver fantasy stat line of this season, but let's just talk about something that you and I did not believe in. We both have Justin Fields in our top 10 going into the season, but we both thought that was going to be through the ground. He has thrown 8 passing touchdowns in 2 games and 0 interceptions. You know who has 8 touchdowns on the season? Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. And I know tomorrow that's going to change, but that's what's different. It's not that he's just scrambling and finding a way to the end zone like Jalen Hurts when they're on the goal line. Yeah, there's the tush push and he's in the end zone. 4 passing touchdowns again. Yeah. You have to start all 3 of these, and hopefully Khalil Herbert, when he's healthy, is able to kind of keep up with this offense. But I mean, this is looking like the Dolphins. This is wild. Good for you, really Bears.
Yeah, they look really good. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna make a line in the sand, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna give them a 2-game window here. So if next week you roll them out and it's a down week, maybe it's a down week, I think you need to roll them out again. If they had 2 good weeks and then it's 2 bad weeks in a row, I'll even say this. I'll give them a 3-week window. If they from week 6 to 8, numbers are tough, I guess. That took me a second to figure out. From week 6 to week 8, if they are 3 straight down weeks for these guys, then that's when I think you take them back out of the lineup. But I think you need to ride for at least another 3 weeks just because they might be figuring this out. They might be figuring this out, and they look good. I will say, the third quarter and the pretty much the quarter and a half of the second half, the box score does not indicate, I think, actually how much of a blowout this game was. I'll say that. Yeah. With 5 minutes left in the game, the Commanders were attempting a field goal to make it a 7-point game, and they missed it. And then I think they just lost all momentum from there. And then obviously the Bears and DJ Moore get that long touchdown, and then things just kind of shift. But it was a close game with 5 minutes left. There was a chance to be a 1-score game with 5 minutes left in the game, and then obviously it just gets out of hand there. It's a 20-point win. Good win for the Bears. Bears fans are feeling good. Good showing for the skill players, the people they brought in, the trust they have in Justin Fields. Everybody's feeling good in Chicago. I'm excited for them, and it's good to see them get a win finally after nearly a year. Let's jump to the other side of the football, though, because Sam Howell just got outshined. It stinks that Justin Fields and DJ Moore had such a good game, because Sam Howell, 29.4 fantasy points, 37 for 51 for 388 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had nearly 20 yards rushing as well. Dude was like keeping them in the game himself, pretty much, is what it felt like. Brian Robinson, we thought was gonna have a great game. He has 6 rushes in the first half, and then he doesn't get another carry for the rest of the game. Like, it was like, I know they were in a negative game script. They had to come back, all this stuff. He has 4 catches for 33 yards, so it saved his fantasy day a little bit there. Gave you at least something from him to be okay with. But we expected a much bigger game from Brian Robinson. I heard some people talking about this today. The target distribution for the Washington Commanders is so weird, dude. Sam Howell threw 51 passes, and only 10 of those balls went in the direction of Terry McLaurin or Jahan Dotson. Like, what's going on? Like, what are we doing here? Curtis Samuel had 7 targets. He had more targets than Terry McLaurin. Curtis Samuel scores the touchdown. Logan Thomas gets 11 targets. I believe, I'm going to do a live check here real quick, because if I'm not mistaken, when I was watching the highlights, I saw a name that I didn't even know was still playing football in the league. Jamison Crowder got targets last night. He is, what? He's 1 million years old. I don't know what's going on here and why they don't focus on throwing the football to Terry McLaurin or Jahan Dotson, but it's very puzzling. We both had our reservations about those 2 guys coming into the season. I was excited about the potential of Jahan Dotson just because of what he showed last year when he came back from injury, but this is just, it's hard to want to roll either of those guys out, and I don't think you can, on a weekly basis, trust Curtis Samuel to get those 7 targets for 65 and a touchdown. I think the only Commanders pass catcher that you want right now is Logan Thomas. He's actually playing well. He's getting targets. He is getting touchdowns. He's getting looks in the end zone. Like, it's very confusing. I mean, if I had Dallas Goedert or Darren Waller and Logan Thomas was available on the waiver wire after this week, I'd probably put in a claim. I wouldn't drop Dallas Goedert or Darren Waller yet, but I'd add some insurance to my team. It's confusing what's going on with the Commanders and why they're not utilizing their top 2 receivers, because both these guys are very talented. I don't really understand why it's not happening.
Antonio Gibson had more targets than Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
And he had 0 rushing attempts.
Yeah.
The offense is so spread out, and it's successful enough for them to put up some decent points on offense, but here in the fantasy world, which is the real world for us, nobody's trustworthy. Maybe Logan Thomas is able to keep it up. We know he's been a valuable name for a while. He's kind of had the Darren Waller effect where he had a good season.
We also know he's like 48 years old. But
yeah, and he's just too injured and just doesn't see anything. I mean, I'm not worried about Brian Robinson. It was a negative game script, as you said. Bears just clicked on all cylinders. But, yeah, Commanders are probably not going to be the offense you want to roll out in fantasy unless you need a flex fill-in or some buy options. I mean, I'm going to have to pass.
It's tough.
Pass on the Commanders.
It's tough goings. Yeah, it's tough goings for the Commanders right now. Thursday Night Football, we ate our words. I mean, we were ready for it to just be another snooze fest, and got to be an exciting game there. Saw some big performances, obviously a huge performance from DJ Moore and Justin Fields. I don't know who's playing Thursday night next week, but hopefully we get something close to what that was for the sake of our sanity at this point. Just give us, let's string them together, Amazon. Let's keep them going. Let's keep some good games going here. It's going to wrap up Thursday Night Football recap. We're going to do some trade targets real quick. I'm going to give you mine first, Wes. I'm excited about this guy. This is a guy I actually traded for a couple weeks ago in our main league. I lost Nick Chubb in that league, and I had some performing guys that were doing well. I had Zach Moss, and I had Jalen Warren, and I needed another key guy. And so this guy hasn't even been in my lineup yet, and you'll hear why in just a little bit. But I traded for Ramondre Stevenson, running back for the New England Patriots. Now, Ramondre Stevenson started out the season fairly well. He had a 14-point game, he had a 15-point game, and then he's had a few tough games that he's had to deal with in the past couple of weeks. He's played against the Dallas Cowboys. He's played against, I believe, the New York Jets some tough run defenses, and he had yet to eclipse like 8 points over the last couple weeks. Here's what I'm going to say. You can try and trade for him now, or you can wait for him to have another bad week this week, which I am anticipating against the New Orleans Saints, and then you can try and even get him for even lower cost because he's played 3 tough run defenses. He's still been top 10 in touches amongst running backs. He is still very involved with this offense. He is still a key piece. Ezekiel Elliott is not getting the starting reps. Like, that's not happening. Ramondre Stevenson is still the guy in this backfield that you want. And after this upcoming week against New Orleans, his schedule is unfreaking believable. It is unreal. He plays the best run defense that he plays over the rest of the entire season is the Kansas City Chiefs, who are ranked 13th in run defense and are still giving up over 100 rushing yards a game. The schedule is unbelievable. He's got guys like the Raiders. He's got the Chargers. He's got the Dolphins and the Bills, which I know sound like they're strong defenses. Their run defenses are not very good. Like this is something to take advantage of here. Obviously, he's going to have the Jets again one more time here, and it's going to be a little bit tougher there. But Ramondre Stevenson is a guy that I am looking to trade for right now. I think he is going to have a fantastic, I was going to say second half, but back end of the season here, starting in week 6. And I think he is somebody that after this week, the Ramondre Stevenson owner, after another week of 7 points, is going to be pretty ready to just move on. And I think it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for you to trade for a guy who should be a borderline, probably a back-end RB1 on a weekly basis from that point on after next week. So Ramondre Stevenson is my trade target. I'm excited.
I love it very much, especially because I have just as much faith as you because he's been getting his opportunities.
Yeah.
Mac Jones is just not that solid. He had a fantastic week 1 and then is just not really done very much. And we're back to the quarterback controversy in New England once again. So
yeah.
Here's the thing. Ramondre Stevenson, I think, can still finish as a top 10 running back in fantasy this season. Yeah. I think that is still doable. It may not be up to, what did you have him as, running back 4? It may not be top 5.
I dropped him down to like 8, and with the emergence here, I think I have him projected right now to finish as like a RB 12, 13, 14, like around there, like borderline top 12. So yeah, I'll back end RB1 for the rest of the season and to finish as a back end RB1. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I still think he can finish top 10. I mean, especially because
I would love.
I mean, I'll let you know too that my trade target is also running back because that's how depleted this running back field is in fantasy this season. It is tough going. If your running back is not named Christian McCaffrey, you're kind of looking around for some help here. Maybe when Eckler is back after the bye week, he'll be playing the way that we expect him to as well, but it's tough going right now, and you need to take advantage of the running backs that are not performing, that are starters. So he was the obvious one for me, honestly. He was the obvious trade target for me. I knew you were going to choose him, but I still very much like the person I want to trade for as well. So, yeah, Ramondre, go get him now. Or next week. Or get him next week.
Or next week when you can trade even less. Yeah, Wes, if I'm not mistaken, I believe we're staying in the division. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. We're going to stay here in the AFC East because my trade target is Breece Hall. And I know we've been disappointed by the numbers. And, yes, you are probably in a spot where you're thinking, well, he's a starter. I guess that makes sense. I know he hasn't been doing a lot, and he had a somewhat decent game against the Chiefs, but he has not looked like himself from when we saw him in his rookie year last year. And yeah, he had a pretty sweet run and a pretty good game in week 1 Monday night against the Bills. But what's the point? Why Breece Hall? Robert Saleh announced he's been on a pitch count this entire season.
Yeah.
So now we unlock Breece Hall. Okay. Thank you. Now I know why it's been so limited and why he even alluded to it as well in, I believe, week 2 when he only had 4 rushing attempts. And they asked him, why aren't you so involved? And he goes, I don't know. They only gave me the ball 4 times.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was all part of the plan. Apparently, this was the idea. This is what Saleh had in mind, is that Breece Hall needs to be worked back into the NFL rhythm and speed before they release him. Clearly, Dalvin Cook is not involved. There is no threat. I would rather start Ezekiel Elliott than Dalvin Cook right now. The Jets look pretty decent from their matchup against the Chiefs. Zach Wilson looks like he might be able to do something not half bad. I think the Jets offense starting to turn a page. I'm starting to believe in Garrett Wilson a little bit more as well. But Breece Hall off a pitch count, knowing what he can do, is very exciting to me. I'll admit to you trollers that it's a little tricky to get Breece Hall. I've done a lot of trades. I've only managed to get it in one of the 6 leagues that I'm in. People are recognizing this as well.
You did trade for him today, yes. You were able to get him in trade today. You gave up, I believe it was Javonte Williams to get Breece Hall.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. I mean, yes, that's not sending no one, but also Javonte's, the health may be concerned.
Hold on. I didn't want to out him, but I need to clear. I wasn't going to bring it up, but you make it seem you can't get him for Javonte Williams. He didn't mean to press. I apologize. He didn't mean to press accept. He thought he was getting Breece Hall, even though he has Breece Hall. And he was just like, yeah, I want Breece Hall. The pitch count is off. And then he meant, I don't mean to out you, but I need to clarify for the trollers that you can't get him for Javonte Williams. And then he messaged me privately. He's like, I thought I was getting Breece Hall. And I was like, oh no take back C's. So you can't lowball. I just need to clarify that because you said Javonte. You said Javonte, and I was like, whoa, okay. I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to bring it up when I talk about Breece Hall. I'm not going to say anything, but I need to be transparent. You can't get him for Javonte Williams. You have to put in a little bit of effort. I'll give you the context. In another league, I offered Alexander Madison, and that was declined. So you just need to feel it out. Breece Hall is going to be great, but you are still bad. So was I. I didn't know what to say or do, but I was like,
the meanest person on earth.
I didn't do anything. I sent a trade and was like, let me feel it out and see what happens.
I'm kidding.
And he said, oh no. So Breece Hall is my trade target.
Listen,
1 out of 6.
I'll just say this. When I looked at that trade, I didn't think it was like outrageous. Like it was, Breece Hall's been bad.
No, it's possible.
Javonte Williams has had good opportunity. He's clearly the guy. And I think people might accept that offer. I don't know for sure, but people might accept that offer. I think it's a possibility. So Breece Hall, boom. Ramondre Stevenson, Breece Hall, go out there, get him. Breece Hall is going to have a huge game this week. Huge game this week against Denver. It's going to be fantastic. Really, really excited about that. Let's jump into studs and duds to close out the episode for week 5. We got some fun guys to talk about here. Wes, week 5 stud. Give it to me.
Oh, yes. We haven't shared our studs and duds, so this is a fresh reaction for both of us. We get a double down, I hope. My stud for this week is Jacoby Myers of the Las Vegas Raiders. So, you and I, Noah, have both stayed optimistic on his upside, even though he had a down week. And it's very, very easy to explain why he did not do well in week 4. And I'll summarize what's happened here. Week 1, 29 points.
Yeah.
Week 2, he was injured. And then week 3, 15.5 points. Come on. That is awesome. What happened in week 4? Why did he get 5 points? Because Jimmy Garoppolo was not starting.
Yeah.
And Jimmy G has targeted in these 2 games that he's played with Jacoby Myers 10 times in week 1 and 12 times in their next game together. Some of you may be thinking, I don't know. This is Devontae Adams against the Packers. That's going to be a revenge game. It's going to be electric. It's not at Lambeau. It's going to be at Allegiant Stadium. But here's the thing. Even if it is a revenge game for Davante Adams, which I am anticipating, Davante Adams can ball out and Jacoby Myers can do very well.
Yeah.
Just like they did in week 3. Davante Adams put up 42 points off of 20 targets. And Jacoby Myers still saw 12 targets. So two things are going to happen, and they're both for Jacoby Myers' benefit. One, Adams goes off, and he still gets 12 targets. Or they triple team Davante Adams in spite, and Myers gets 20 targets. It's all going to be for Jacoby Myers' benefit. It's going to be great. Garoppolo, as you mentioned at the top of the show, is cleared from the concussion protocol. He is starting. I am slotting in Jacoby Myers in place of Amon-Ra St. Brown for my lineup because I believe he's going to be fantastic. He is my stud for this week.
Yeah. I love it so much. I think back, and it's been funny, I think back to our tight end rankings episode. And Wes, this is obviously for the tight ends, outside of the top 4 or 5, everyone else's guess is as good as ours. But you had Austin Hooper as a top 10 tight end this season because we both said Jimmy Garoppolo likes the tight end. Jimmy Garoppolo had a good connection with George Kittle. Austin Hooper could be a solid fantasy player this year. We both were bought in on that. We both agreed. We said, I had Austin Hooper in like my top 12. Like I thought this was going to be a solid fantasy player. Dude, the ball doesn't go anywhere besides Jacoby Myers or Davante Adams. Jimmy Garoppolo in that game, 20 targets to Davante Adams, 12 targets to Jacoby Myers. He threw just 10 passes in that game that didn't go to one of those two guys. He threw 44 balls in that game and I messed up. 12 of those passes, sorry. 12 of those passes. But he threw 44 balls in that game, and 32 of them went to Davante Adams or Jacoby Myers. The targets are funneled to those two guys. That if we're looking to get the ball on a pass play down the field, not a dump off to Josh Jacobs or Amir Abdullah or whoever, it's going to Davante Adams or it's going to Jacoby Myers. One of those two. And, man, I am just thrilled to see the proof that the Patriots fumbled the bag so hard on letting Jacoby Myers go and bringing in Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, what are we doing here on a very similar contract? That was absurd to me. Good for Jacoby Myers. I love Jacoby Myers. I'm rolling him out this week as well. I've got a couple people on bye. I've got Keenan Allen on bye. So Jacoby Myers slotted right in for me, and I'm confident. Like, I'm very excited about Jacoby Myers. So I love it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think he's going to be very good. Almost as good as my stud for week 5 as well. And maybe hopefully a little better because I do have skin in the game. I'm playing Jacoby Myers in my lineups. But my stud for week 5, also a wide receiver. It's Mr. Adam Thielen of the Carolina Panthers. Adam Thielen is defying the odds. Everyone said, oh, he's old. He's lost it. He's done. And we saw him ball out with Andy Dalton at quarterback. But the week before and the week after with Bryce Young, both were still very, very solid for Adam Thielen. He is the wide receiver 8 over the last 3 weeks. Adam Thielen is doing his thing. He's got a 26% target share over those last 3 weeks as well. Bryce Young trusts him. He's looking for him. I knew Bryce Young was going to find his guy. That's a big reason why Hayden Hurst was a top 10 tight end for me this season. He just ended up finding it with Adam Thielen. Thielen finds himself in space, and Bryce Young trusts him, and he can get open from the slot. And that's the key piece for me right now. I did a little more digging there. The Detroit Lions give up the 4th most yards to slot wide receivers so far this season. I think Adam Thielen is going to be finding himself open early. He's going to find himself space early because I know Aiden Hutchinson is going to be running down that offensive line to get to Bryce Young. I think Adam Thielen is going to be in a very good position this week to help out Bryce Young, to be there for him, to continue the success he's had over the last 3 weeks. Adam Thielen just projected 11.3 fantasy points. They're not running the ball in this game. The Lions' run defense is fantastic. They're going to be passing it. Adam Thielen's going to get his. He's going to have another very good week. Start him with confidence. Week 5 stud, Adam Thielen. Boom.
Wow, I am very interested in this because when he exploded, I attributed it to Andy Dalton. I said,
right.
Am I thinking, okay, it's not a rookie quarterback. It's a veteran throwing to a veteran. They're trying to show what this offense has, what the potential looks like together. And that's what I chalked it off to. And then previous week against the Vikings, I chalked it off to a revenge game, just funneling that target. He's going to play better. He's going to show, like, look, I mean, I know I paid my dues in Minnesota, but
sure,
I'm here to show you I still got it. You went ahead and got Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. But if he does it again this week, then we're going to be looking at a legitimate scenario. When we do our midseason rankings and we review our top 10 rankings for each position, we could honestly be looking at Adam Thielen in the top 10 still.
Yeah.
Halfway through the season.
No, seriously. It's very real. Yeah, it's very real. Bryce Young, we all saw, like you said, we saw the Andy Dalton game and chucked it up to that was just them doing their thing. But he has been very good with Bryce Young. 20.4 points against the Saints with Bryce Young, and then 15.2 points last week with Bryce Young. I think he's got a good chance this week. Stud. Stuffing.
I'm hoping.
Adam Thielen.
He's the most reliable. He's the most reliable
Yeah.
of the Panthers wide receivers, without
100%.
a doubt.
Let's talk about some people that are going to suck, because that's fun to do.
Yeah.
You just call our shots, and usually we're right. Never been wrong. So, week 5
Never been
dud, Wes. Who is it going to be?
Najee Harris. Cutting straight to the chase. Najee Harris.
Yeah.
This is for those that need to hear this. You're looking at the name value of the Pittsburgh Steelers running back, and you're thinking, I got him in the 4th round. Am I really just going to bench him? Yes. Yes, you are. Because here's the deal. You might be looking at what happened last week, and you're like, oh, man, 11 points. I mean, that's not good for what I want of Najee, but, that's certainly better than what he's done. Better than what he's done. That's twice what he's done. My guy, 5.3 in week 1, 5.3 in week 2, 6.5 in week 3, and you're feeling optimistic because he got 11 points in week 4? Look, Najee Harris was really good his rookie season, the same as we talked about with Chase Claypool. Why were they good that season? Because Ben Roethlisberger was throwing it to anyone that he could see. And the closest person he could see in his 39-year-old eyes was Najee Harris. Yeah, his field of vision was just as far as the backfield. And he said, Najee, 94 targets his rookie year. 74 receptions. That's why he was top 3 in that rookie year. It wasn't the 1,200 rushing yards he got.
Yeah.
You know who had 1,000 yards rushing last year? Najee Harris. And he wasn't top 10. He's not the top 10 running back you think he is. You can bench him. His bread and butter in fantasy's rookie year was PPR value. He's on pace for 34 targets this year. That's it.
That's so painful.
That is so freaking bad.
Oh,
just bench Najee. Bench him until further notice. If you want to trade him, good luck trying to find, I don't know, you might get a kicker for him at this point.
You probably trade him for me.
Oh my God! See your face. You could trade him for. No, Tutty. I was gonna say Tutty the Troll, but
Tutty the Troll is probably better fantasy value than
Tutty is a hoss. My guy, he is incredible.
Is the second coming of Jerome Bettis.
Yeah, he is.
Ridiculous.
A much better
Harris,
Pittsburgh running back.
He's been so bad.
Yeah.
He's been so
Once a stud,
bad.
now a dud.
Yeah,
Maybe a bust.
I'm glad I didn't end up drafting him anywhere. And I really was liking his value at draft season, but obviously we look at it now and it's just ridiculous. So I don't know what to say besides what you've said. It was PPR value in his rookie year. He started bringing it back around towards the end of last year. He finishes like the RB15, and it's. I would rather own Jalen Warren than Najee Harris at this point. It's just listen. Here is the. Oh man, I don't want to make an excuse, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say maybe the thing that has been holding him back is they have been without their top wide receiver this year. So offenses have just been able to play the run a little stronger. They haven't been too worried about the receiving game with, George Pickens is fine, but Allen Robinson and then Calvin Austin. And, maybe it's just the lack of Deontay Johnson in the offense has yet to let them be truly what they had been trying to be all offseason and been working to be all offseason. But I don't even know if I just believe what I just said. So I don't know. It's so tough. Najee was so good in college. He was good his rookie year with the PPR value, but he just looks slow. He looks worn out. Maybe he isn't fully ever recovered from the foot injury. I don't know. It's disappointing, but Najee Harris is definitely a dud. That's
never had more than a 57% snap count in a game this season.
Yeah.
You have so much more value with Jalen Warren, even though they're producing the same amount because of the ADP, and you don't have to start Jalen Warren. But bench Najee Harris, and it's time to bench the player you're about to list as well, Noah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just simple and plain. I just flip that around backwards. Plain and simple. Dud for week 5 is Gabe Davis. Listen, he has been on a hot streak over the last 3 weeks. 3 weeks with touchdowns. He also has only had one game this season with more than 3 catches. I know it's been only a month so far, but the touchdowns are making up. I'm not kidding you. His touchdowns, he scored 3 this season. They are accounting for 49% of his fantasy points this season. He's the wide receiver 30, and he's only had 18 targets. Like I said, he's only had one game with more than 3 catches. If he doesn't score, he's going to be a dud. And the Jacksonville Jaguars do pretty good against the deep pass, which is his bread and butter. So, listen, he's probably going to be, I'm going to say he's going to be less than 5 fantasy points this week in London. Bright and early, 6:30 a.m. for us, Wes. Man, can we cut this out, maybe? Guys, stop trying this. We want to sleep. It's all... It would be greatly appreciated. But Gabe Davis is a week 5 dud. If he doesn't score, he's going to be disappointing. And so I just don't think he's reliable enough. I think 3 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks is a little bit unrealistic for him. And in a bit of a tougher matchup this week, I'm just out on Gabe Davis. So he is my week 5 dud.
I don't have anything really to add. I mean, we've known for a while that Gabe Davis is boom or bust. He's so touchdown dependent. He's only a deep threat option. That's all he does. And there's not much to it as well. I mean, you might be excited of what happened last week with Miami, but I'll tell you what, Josh Allen is going to feel the pressure of Josh Allen. And that's a legitimate thing because that Jacksonville defense, even though they haven't been winning a lot, they will do enough to... I don't know. I'm just trying to add some commentary.
You're right. They have rattled every single quarterback they've played against. And so I don't think they rattled Mahomes. They obviously rattled Anthony Richardson week 1. They rattled Desmond Ridder last week. They are a team that is having some trouble. And but on defense, they're doing okay. So, Gabe Davis is just going to – I think it's going to be a down week for him. I don't think he scores, and I think it's just going to be disappointing for him. So there you go. Studs and duds for week 5. Book it. Never been wrong. 100% accurate right here. There we go.
Never.
That is going to do it for our show today. Let us know what you think is going to happen and be of this Bears offense the rest of the year. Are they going to the Super Bowl? Who knows? This offense looked really good on Thursday night, so we'll have to wait and see. Let us know in the comments. Also, let us know if you're going to make any trades for Ramondre Stevenson or Brees Hall, and let us know what that trade was. We want to hear what you're able to get them for. If you do get them, let us know in those comments. While you're down there, subscribe, ring that bell, and follow us on our social medias below. Make sure you make Tutty the Troll smile by doing all that. Join us on Tuesday for our Week 5 recap. We're going to have a fun time. It should be a good week. We're excited for 10 hours of football on Sunday, thanks to the London game. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy. 4th and Troll Fantasy is a production of FQ Media and Selby Artistic Workshop.
It's so funny if you left that
Just leave
in.
that in.
Just silence.